We have our second batch of cards for Lorcana 6 set Azurite Sea, including a bunch of new Peter Pan cards bringing that pirate synergy. So let's look at this together.
Yarmy Hardies, we have more cards to look at for Lorcana 6 set Azurite Sea. The pacing of these has been a little bit slower than usual. It looks like they're getting spread out over a few days and weeks this time rather than dropping 30 on us in one day.
It feels like it, and a lot of those are actually coming as part of articles giving a little bit of the story of Azurite Sea, and also obviously the artist spotlight. So make sure to check out on Disney Lorcana page for more details. And our Instagram, account, as we are always on top of that. Yes.
So you want to look at the first one?
Let's do this. Let's start with Amba.
So first up, we have Chippendale Recovery Rangers, an 8-cost uninkable 6/6 that quests for 3. They're Floodborn and they shift in at 5. And like we saw with Flotsam and Jetsam in Ursula's Return, this character counts as being named both Chip and Dale when shifting, so you have many options and choices to shift onto. And they have the ability Search and Rescue. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your Inkwell, you may return a character card from your discard to your hand. So I think the first thing we've got to say is the quality of all of these cards are going to be a little bit crunchy. For some reason, Ravensburger are not uploading these in high quality. They're all a little bit grainy.
I know. I've been trying to get their answers over Discord. There's so many different rumors, but we'll see what's up. But trust us, this is the best quality you can get at the moment for those cards. Yeah.
But let's look at the card itself.
Yes.
I think this is actually a super fun one. The very first thing that strikes me is it feels like this is a card naturally designed to pair with Sapphire, just because it is about that, like putting things into your Inkwell. We know Sapphire is the ink color that is all about putting stuff into your Inkwell, so potentially that's going to be a way to draw you some cards in an Amber Sapphire deck. I think it would be really cool actually if they do start kind of creating cards that have natural ink pairings.
Yes.
Of course, even if you don't want to pair this with Sapphire, you're still going to be inking at least once a turn in most cases, so you are going to be drawing a card.
And I think we saw other cards like that following the pattern, trying to push towards that new combination.
Yes, we're going to see another one today.
Which again, I find very interesting. I just like when they do create gameplay synergies with colors that you wouldn't use otherwise. It's a quite strong card, right? I know that is an 8 and inkable, but you can shift, so that's okay, I suppose.
If you're pairing it with Sapphire, then you can get it out a little bit
even
quicker.
earlier. Yeah.
And it, of course, does synergize with the Dale card we saw in the actual set announcement.
Yep.
Where when you play him, you can discard the top 3 cards of your deck. So this is going to give you a way. You can even shift onto Dale on your next turn, and this gives you a way to start then getting back use of some of those character cards.
That is true, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, so I think this is actually quite a fun card. Whether it's actually a particularly playable card, I'm not so convinced right now. I think it is a little bit high cost, a little bit slow.
I don't know. I think for Sapphire, Amber, it might work. That's the whole goal of it, right? We shall see. I'm just excited about Chippendale.
And the next card up in Amber is Judy Hops, a Resourceful Rabbit, a 6-cost inkable 3/6 that quests for 2. She has support, and she has the ability Need Some Help. At the end of your turn, you may ready another chosen character of yours.
That reminds me a lot of another card.
Which one that is?
Bernard.
Bernard.
From Into the Inklands.
Yes,
right?
she is a little bit more expensive than Bernard, but I think her ability has a little bit more utility. Bernard's would only trigger if he was exerted, so you had to always wait a turn to get the benefit of his ability. Yeah. Judy Hops is going to be giving you that at the end of your current turn, so you can play her and then ready one of your characters that's just quested. It kind of feels like an ability that would be nice in like an aggro deck to protect your characters, but because she's a 6-cost, most aggro decks probably aren't going to get up there to the 6 ink zone territory.
It's not much to say, but again, even though we don't like support as much, at least she has a 3 strength.
Yeah,
so it's a nice 3 value, but I don't know. It's very specific.
And we're going to see a Nick Wild card that maybe has a little bit of synergy with her as well.
And they live among the same space.
Exactly. So that's actually all we have for Amber. So we're going to update the tracker down there.
Down there.
So you can see those cards slotting in. And then we'll hop on over
to Amethyst.
Well, Judy hop on over to Amethyst. So the first Amethyst is Pixie Dust. This is a 4-cost uninkable item, and it has the ability Faith and Trust, Exert, pay 2 ink, chosen character against challenger +2, and evasive until the start of your next turn. This card reminds me a lot of another card, which is Maui's Fishhook. I think I prefer Maui's Fishhook on paper. It's cheaper to deploy, it's inkable. Of course, you have to make that decision between giving evasive and giving challenger, but I mean, how often are you really going to need to give evasive to a character and challenger at the same time? I think about the use cases maybe taking down something like Diablo, but you're not going to be throwing a 1 strength character into him anyway, so do you really need the the Challenger +2.
Well, I think there's two elements to that though. Is until the start of your next turn, so that's the advantage of keeping the evasive.
But even so, I think Maui's Fishhook is a better option if it's just about giving the evasive.
Yeah, I just mean it serves as two things, right? But I see what you mean. Yeah, obviously Maui has that additional utility if you have Maui in play, so it's very
Then it's
specific,
free,
right?
yeah.
I do like that. I gotta say, I actually quite like the Pixel Dust, but it does worry me the fact that it's uninkable. One thing that is really cool, trivia-wise as well, as we said in the beginning, that was part of the story bits of the announcement of those 4 cards. And the story kind of says that Tinkerbell tricked Captain Hook and Mr. Smee, saying that she got captured, but instead she was just stealing all the treasures and using the pixie dust to bring it up high so Peter Pan can steal. So again, check the website. There's a lot of nice information in the lore, and this card just illustrates this whole sequence as well.
So it's a bit like Loki in Avengers when he
Exactly,
gets captured on purpose.
Yes.
So the next card we have in Amethyst is Rafiki, Ethereal Guide, a 9-cost uninkable 6/6 that quests for 4. He's a Floodbond, so he can shift in at 7, and he has the ability Astral Attunement. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may draw a card. So very similar to the Chippendale card we saw just a few cards ago. Another card that seems to want to be played in Sapphire because of his high cost. It's going to give you a way to get him out a bit sooner, and because you're going to be hopefully inking a lot, you're going to be drawing a lot of cards. Of course, this ability is quite similar to Chicha, who we saw in Shimmering Skies. Hers only triggering the second time you put a card into your inkwell, so she obviously comes out a lot sooner, so she's a lot better in the early game. Rafiki's maybe a card that's better in the later game.
I do like that it's bringing more meaning for all the other Rafikis you have in play, right?
Yeah.
Because I think we still use Rafiki even before there was a shift target. In general, it's always been a good card since set 1, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. And I'm just blown away by the art. I'm really hoping, and I think the community as well is hoping to see an Enchanted out of this.
Yeah.
Imagine an Enchanted of Rafiki.
Yeah, we said it when the last Rafiki was announced, but I don't think they've ever missed on a Rafiki art. It's just always
it's just
incredible.
And that's another one of those,
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
And that's it as well for Amethyst. Not that many cards, as we said, they are getting kind of released slower than usual with a bit of a drip feed, which is great for us because we're not doing 40 reveals in a single video.
Yes.
But there we go. So we'll jump on over to Emerald, and a card that had, I think, quite a lot of the people in the community quite excited. So we'll talk about it. It's Peter Pan, Neverland Prankster. 7 cost, inkable, 4/6 that quests for 1, with 2 abilities. The first one, Look Innocent. This character enters play exerted and can't take a joke. While this character is exerted, each opposing player can't gain law unless one of their characters is challenged this turn.
This is, honestly, I'm so excited about this card. I don't use Emerald, but I like the concept of this card.
Concept is very cool.
It's very interesting because you can think, when you look at it first, you're like, okay, but what is how impactful that is really? But we're talking about blocking locations. We're talking about a card that will come in already exerted.
Yeah.
So in that turn, a location won't earn anything because it's during the set phase, for example. We're talking about a card that can stop gathering knowledge and wisdom, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about it's so many different ways, right?
I think the location one is really interesting because a lot of, like we saw Ruby Amethyst, a lot of the game plan would be putting down locations, wiping the board, and then you wouldn't have a way to deal with them before they gain law.
Yeah.
Whereas Peter Pan, you can now deploy him on turn 7 and stop that law gain at the beginning of a turn.
Yes.
So I think that's very, very cool. As Matteo said, it is going to stop like goat bouncers, unless your opponent does challenge first. Basically stop all of that passive law, at least at the start of the turn, to give you a little bit of a breather.
Yeah. And I think what is cool as well is in a scenario where you actually only have Peter Pan in play and someone actually has to challenge you to stop the lore losses from your end. Peter Pan is quite a strong character as well. It has a strength of 4. So in the majority of the cases, if you do that, you're going to lose your character in the process.
Yeah.
So it's a very powerful card, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it works super well with anything that gives him evasive as well. Like things that make it difficult to get Peter Pan off the board.
Yes.
So Pixie Dust, the item we just saw, gives you evasive until your next turn. Some really fun synergies people pointed out online was with Jafar, Tyrannical Hypnotist from Shimmering Skies. So when he's in play, opposing characters that cost 4 or less can't challenge. So if you're playing against an aggro deck and their highest character is a 4 cost, then they're not going to be able to challenge and not going to be able to gain law, which is absolutely
insane.
Which is absolutely crazy. Things like Tiana's Palace, characters can't be challenged whilst they're there. Of course, you could have your characters challenge Tiana's Palace, which will still trigger that condition, which is really cool. But downsides, I think, about Peter Pan is he is a little bit slow. Like turn 7 it's really going to be something to kind of keep you in the game because you're struggling, I think.
For me, it's just the disruption, right? That's what this card is for, because it's a quest for one. It's a late game one.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a great card if it wasn't for this effect. So it's just kind of a very specific thing, but I love it. I just love everything that people can come up with. I think, out of that. And he's a super rare, let's not forget. So that's one of the super rares for Emerald.
Yeah. But I think right now it's a cool card. I don't think it's going to be as great as we're hoping, but I'm always happy to be proven wrong on these things.
I want to see people cooking out things around that. So do that for us and prove us wrong. Actually, no, prove Charlie wrong. I think this card will be good.
And another character from Peter Pan is Captain Hook, Underhanded. A 3-cost inkable, 1 that quest for 2 with 2 abilities. First, Inspires Dread. While this character is exerted, opposing pirate characters can't quest. And Upper Hand, whenever this character is challenged, draw a card. So I think the first ability is quite niche. I'm not sure if we're expecting a pirate meta. There are going to be a lot of pirate cards coming out this set, but I mean, I don't think you're going to be running this Captain Hook card as a tech card for those. You're not going to really need that ability as much. It'll be fun in a theme deck.
I think so. I think a lot of people will want to play the pirates just because of the uniqueness of that, especially for the set, right?
Yeah.
And they had to design a card about that. I think it just makes sense, right?
For sure.
I think it would be fundamental. Yeah.
But I think the second ability is actually quite an interesting one. It's something we saw on the Mad Hatter Gracious Host all the way back from set 1, who would similarly let you draw a card every time he was challenged. So Hook's got that. He's got decent stats, actually. Like, he's questing for 2. He's got 4 willpower. So potentially he might need a couple of challenges to take him off the board. So that could be a couple of cards given to you.
I agree. I think it's a good one. And looking at the art again, we've been hearing on the story, on the lore, that they are trying to go through the maze. I think it's the maze made of waves or something. You can see his map, in Captain Hook map. There's the maze. And right in the middle, it looks like a Kakamura. I'm not sure. Is Kakamura holding those things that they're looking for? We'll see. But nice one. Again.
Yeah, very cool. So that's it for Emerald. We'll update the tracker now. And then we're going to go over to Ruby. So first up in Ruby, and I'm going to butcher this name, we have Adora Beazle Winterpop Ice Rocket Racer, a 3-cost inkable, 1/5 that quest for 1, and she has the ability Keep Driving. Whilst this character has damage, she gets +1 law.
She reminds me, Donald Duck from Floodborn, right?
Yes,
Not again. It's pretty much a baby version of that with a similar effect. Yeah. But what is interesting about this as well is if you remember the synergy with the damage going inside the Sugar Rush Speedway.
Yes.
So she works quite well as well driving inside that and getting the effects on top. But I don't have much to say about the card. I think it's an interesting one. I don't think I would use, but...
Yeah. I was trying to remember who this character was in the film. I don't think she has an actual speaking role. Well, she's more of like one of the background racers.
So I was sure she was from the second movie because I couldn't remember, but then people in our Discord said that she's actually from the first movie.
Yeah.
She was probably one of the bullies when they were breaking the car.
Oh, absolutely,
I don't remember Adora Beazle, so...
Yeah.
There she is.
I think it's an interesting card. It works with something like Teeth and Ambition as well. She's got like such a lot of willpower on her that you can put some damage and then have her quest for 2. But yeah,
I do like that they are still bringing Wreck-It Ralph cards, even though we're Azurite Sea, so we can expect more, obviously.
I'm still hoping we're going to see something out of the racer keyword because all of the races had the racer keyword, but there was no payoff for it. So hopefully that's coming soon. And another Peter Pan character, and I think this was another one that got a story reveal, right? It's Wendy Darling Courageous Captain, a 2-cost uninkable 1/2 that quest for 1. She's evasive, and she has the ability Look Lively Crew. While you have another pirate character in play, this character gets +1 strength and +1 law. So I think, we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of pirate characters this set. I'm sure some of those are going to be playable. I think Wendy seems like actually quite a nice playable card. Like the fact she's evasive.
Yeah. In that scenario where she costs only 2, even though uninkable, again, it needs to rely on the pirate synergy, but as soon as you have a pirate, this card is actually very powerful.
Yeah,
if you think about the stat line.
She becomes a little bit like a Minnie Mouse surfer, right? And we know how powerful Minnie Mouse was. She's 1 cost cheaper, so if you start with a pirate character and then play Wendy on 2, she could be quite a headache.
But that also, for me, is the only advantage for the card. So comparing Minnie Mouse Surfer with her, if you're not playing a pirate deck, Minnie Mouse all the way, in my opinion, even because it's inkable, right? But she's amazing. And she does say in the lore, she has some dialogues with her brother, so I'm hoping that we get to see their
nice.
cards is on
That would be
Lorcana.
really cool.
So that's bring us to the end of Ruby. So let's put this straight to the tracker just down here. And let's go to Sapphire.
Sapphire. So I think Sapphire is eating quite well with the reveals. And we're going to
It
start
is.
with a really fun card.
Yes.
We have Yokai Enigmatic Inventor, a 4-cost inkable 3/3 that quests for 2 with the ability Time to Upgrade. Whenever this character quests, you may return one of your items to your hand to pay 2 less for the next item you play this turn. And I think there's a lot of definitely fun interactions this can have. So I think first things first, because it's a Sapphire card, you could potentially be getting Yokai out on turn 3 if you've been able to ramp on turn 2. And then you can do some fun things. So the big one I think a lot of people are talking about is Popsicle. You can bounce back Popsicle to your hand to then replay it essentially for free because the cost is reduced by 2, and then you can draw a card. It means if you ramped again and you're able to get Yokai out a bit early, you could even get the Lucky Dime out on turn 4, which would just be like a massive, massive advantage for a Sapphire deck. We've got items like Fishbone Quill. You can use it, bounce it back to your hand, play it, use it again to get double advantage out of it. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff to go along with this card.
He's a scary one for me because obviously we are like, those item decks are so powerful already. Of course, all of them has its own strength, but I don't like going against item decks.
Yeah.
And then the equivalent for me to this, maybe not the same strength or the same power into the meta, is the Pit that we got, the referee from Steel, because it was also an uncommon. I feel like this is going to be as playable as the Pit for those Sapphire decks.
Yeah, maybe.
And that scares me because obviously everyone's going to get those cards because it's uncommon. But
And of course, something like this, it's just a card that's going to get better over time. The more items that are brought to the game.
The same for Pit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's my comparison in a way. But love to see Yokai here. Love to see the Hero 6.
And the art is just incredible. So another Sapphire card maybe Mateus isn't going to like is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
I love the art though.
Yeah, it's a 2-cost uninkable 2/1 that quests for 2 with the ability Favorable Chance. During your turn, whenever a card is put into your inkwell, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an item card, you may play that item for free and it enters play exerted. Otherwise, put it on the bottom of your deck. So we just said with Yokai how crazy it would be being able to get the Lucky Dime out on maybe turn 4, turn 5. Imagine getting it out on turn 3 with Oswald.
Turn 2? No, turn 3.
Yeah, that would be absolutely crazy. So, of course, you could set it up. There are a few items and cards in Sapphire that do that. We've got the Aurelian Gyro Sensor. Allows you to put one card on the top, one on the bottom every time a character quests. We have Aurora Law Guardian, who lets you exert your items to do the same thing. But I think what's interesting is it actually pairs quite well with Amethyst.
Yes.
So Amethyst, there are a lot of cards like Isma from the first set. There's Merlin Squirrel. There's Merlin Turtle. All of which will allow you to do some filtering of your top cards. So you can kind of set this up. You might not always hit the Lucky Dime, but maybe you'll hit something like Popsicle, which is going to draw you a card or things like that. So I think there's definitely a lot of potential here. And if you run him in Amethyst, you can play a fox or a snake to protect him so that he doesn't get...
Because it still quests for quite a lot for a card that cheap, right? So it is a good one. A few things to keep in mind as well is obviously we've seen this card first announced as part of the D23 Collector's Edition. It turned out to be a legendary card, so that's the second and last legendary card for Sapphire, side by side with Baymax, right? But also another piece of trivia is once we got this announcement of the legendary version, we realized that there is actually 2 artists related to this card. They made a mistake. The D23 version of that only have Tone's name listed at that.
Okay.
But we actually have 2 artists, so a big shout for them for the beautiful artwork they put together. We appreciate you.
Yeah. It's so cool, the artwork on this card. It really reminds me of Runaway Railway.
It's just beautiful.
It's so cool.
I was really hoping when we first saw this that maybe this whole set would be black and white, but obviously it's not. Hopefully one day.
Do you think Oswald's getting an Enchanted?
Oh, he has to, right?
I think so.
He has to.
He's one of the classic characters.
He has to. He will get an Enchanted.
Imagine a black and white Enchanted
Oh
card.
my
That would just be
God.
absolutely insane.
Yes.
So the next card, and it's one I did mention earlier, it's Nick Wilde Soggy Fox, a 1-cost inkable 1/2 that quests for 1, with the ability Nice to Have a Partner. While you have another character with support in play, this character gains +2 strength, so he synergizes maybe with Judy Hopps, who gives support of course. But I think what's cool is if you're able to play a support character on turn 2, then now Nick becomes a 3/2 at a 1 cost, which is actually very, very good stats indeed.
That is true, yeah. And what is interesting, because we keep saying we don't like much support at the moment yet. I don't think there's enough
Support for it, ironically.
yeah. But it is interesting that he doesn't... this is not you having support with this card. It's having someone else with support.
Yeah.
So that ability already comes in as soon as it is present without needing to executed.
Yeah.
So that part I like more than the actual support itself. But at the end of the day, what I'm most excited is just more Zootopia cards because I think we're lacking in the game. And I love Nick Wild.
Yeah, it's so cool. And then the last Sapphire card we have is a 4-cost Inkable Song. We Could Be Immortals. Your inventor characters gain resist +6 this turn. Then put this card into your inkwell face down and exert it. So I think first things first, wasn't expecting to get a Fallout voice song in a Lorcana. Wasn't on my bingo card for this set's release, but that's super cool.
Very happy about it.
Yeah, I guess it means that Imagine Dragons are next. Maybe not. But yeah, I think as a card, it's very interesting. One of the things that stands out is right now, really the only inventor card that sees much play is Hiram Flavisham. Are you really going to want to give him resist +6 just this turn? Like, he's not really going to be challenging anything down. Of the inventors we have in the game, the one with the highest strength is Jumba Jokiba from set 1. So you could use that with him, let him challenge something down and not take any damage. But I think we're most likely going to be seeing more inventors added this set, and in future sets that is going to make this song a lot better.
But obviously, the pattern we're seeing with this new set is all about the inventor and robot synergy. So we will see something coming out from that, I'm fairly sure.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, this is a song. It's not hard to play a song.
Yeah.
You are getting this card added to your inkwell at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's very, very cool. That's something we saw in the Illuminator's quest with Ursula. She would have abilities actions that would then go into the inkwell. So you are still ramping with it.
Yes.
But I'm expecting we're going to be seeing an inventor probably with a very high strength and low willpower, which is going to be the perfect target for a song like this.
Super cool.
So let's update the tracker for Sapphire. They, as I said, they ate well. Like most of the reveals this set.
Yeah, fool.
And they already have both their legendaries announced, which is very, very
And I think both of them will be enchanted.
yeah. So we're going to hop on over to Steel, the last ink color, and we're starting off with Mr. Smee, Steadfast Mate, a 2-cost inkable, a 3/2 that quests for 1, with the ability Good Catch. During your turn, this character gains evasive. So these ones are always nice. Like, it's nice when a character gains evasive on your turn to help you deal with evasive threats on your opponent's side of the board. We saw that a lot with Diablo. A lot of players were adding characters that gain evasive into their decks to be able to deal with it. He has the same stats as Jafar, Royal Vizier, and Cruella de Vil in Sapphire. So I think, depending on the deck you're building, if you're building a pirate deck, then Mr. Smee might be a good choice because he has this synergy. If you're building a deck that has Jafars in it, you're probably going to pick Jafar.
Or villains or sorcerers.
So it's really going to depend on what kind of deck you're building as to which of these very similar started cards you're going to put in. Yeah. But I think, it's nice to have more options.
It does, yeah. And I think at the same time, we always can expect some Floodborn, Mr. Smee to come in the future, right?
Yeah.
So it's good to have a version that is not Jafar. It's your own version to do your own shifting. I think it's quite a strong card, to be honest, independently. Yeah, I like it.
So we're going to update Steel, and that will be it for the card reveals this week.
Yes. So many exciting cards. Let us know down below in the comments what is your favorite one announced this time around. Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
I think there are some really interesting ones in there, so it'll be really cool to know what people are getting excited about.
Yeah, I know the ones for me, but I usually get excited for Chulito, so I want to know your opinion.
And if you like this kind of content, be sure to hit the like button down below. Hopefully it glowed because of YouTube's AI. And of course, subscribe so that you can be up to date on all of the latest news. We will be covering everything here on the channel.
I do also want to say, actually, if you're not familiar, we do have an Instagram account, also at Inkborn Heroes, and we actually keep on top of every single release in real time. As soon as the card is out, you'll see just there in our account. So come join us, give us a follow. You'll be able to get all the different means of getting everything Lorcana in real time.
Exactly. And of course, a huge shout out to our YouTube members. We really, really appreciate all of the support you give us. If you're interested in becoming a member, again, you can hit the join button down below and you can see all of the details and fun things you get along the way.
And of course, don't forget to check the link for our Discord server just down below in our description of this video. We want you there. Join us and make our community grow all together. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy questing.
Happy questing.